Amara Johnson was born into a world where survival was valued more than dreams. Her family lived in a small, crowded home where walls carried the weight of struggle. Money was always missing, but responsibility was never absent. From a young age, Amara learned that hardship was not a moment, but a pattern. Her mother woke before sunrise and returned long after sunset. Her hands were rough, her back was tired, yet her spirit refused to surrender. Amara watched silently, learning lessons no school ever taught. The neighborhood taught children to expect limits. People spoke about life as if it were already decided. Girls were told to adjust, boys were told to endure. Success was something seen on television, not something believed in. But inside Amara, a quiet fire burned. She did not know its name yet, but it pushed her to question everything. When food was scarce, Amara shared without complaint. When clothes were old, she wore them with pride. When books were missing, she borrowed and memorized. Education became her secret rebellion. She studied not just to pass exams, but to escape a future already written for her. Every page she read felt like a door opening. Her mother often said, "Knowledge is something no one can steal." Those words stayed with Amara like a promise. At night, she imagined a life where her family could rest, a life where her mother did not have to choose between bills and medicine, a life where her siblings could dream freely. School was not easy. Teachers underestimated her. Classmates doubted her. Some believed girls like her should not aim too high. But Amara learned to convert doubt into discipline. She stayed late, asked questions, and practiced relentlessly. Failure visited her often, but it never stayed. She faced moments when hunger distracted her mind, moments when fear whispered that hope was dangerous. Yet she continued because quitting felt heavier than struggling. Every small victory strengthened her belief. She was not running from poverty, she was running toward possibility. Amara did not yet know how she would change her family future. She only knew she must. She carried the dreams of generations on her shoulders, dreams that were never allowed to breathe, dreams postponed by survival. One night, as rain tapped the broken roof, Amara promised herself something powerful. She promised that her story would not end where it began. She promised that her children would inherit opportunity, not hardship. She promised to become the turning point. That promise marked the beginning of transformation, not loud, not sudden, but unstoppable. A journey that would test her strength, faith, and patience. A journey that would challenge systems and expectations. A journey that would one day rewrite her family legacy. This was only the beginning. As Amara grew older, the weight of expectation pressed harder on her spirit. Bills increased, responsibilities multiplied, and time became a luxury. Her mother grew more tired each year, yet never complained. Amara noticed the quiet sacrifices, meals skipped, smiles forced, dreams delayed. These moments shaped her resolve more than any lecture. High school introduced new challenges. Long walks to school through unsafe streets tested her courage. Lack of resources tested her patience. Some days she arrived exhausted before classes even began. Yet she sat upright, focused, and determined. She refused to let circumstance excuse surrender. Teachers often overlooked her potential. They saw her background before her ability. When she spoke, her ideas were sometimes ignored. When she excelled, her success was questioned. Still, she persisted because her motivation was deeper than approval. Amara found refuge in the library. Rows of books became her sanctuary. She studied stories of leaders, innovators, and survivors. She learned that greatness often rises from adversity. These stories became mirrors, showing her what was possible. She began to envision herself beyond survival. After school, she worked small jobs, cleaning, assisting, tutoring, and helping neighbors. Every earned dollar mattered. not only for income, but for dignity. She contributed to her household while saving quietly. Her dreams required preparation and patience. At home, she helped her siblings with homework. She became both sister and mentor, teaching them to believe in education, teaching them that struggle did not define worth. Their eyes followed her with hope. She knew she could not fail them. There were nights when exhaustion overwhelmed her, nights when fear crept into her thoughts. What if effort was not enough? What if the system was too strong? What if dreams were illusions? But each doubt was answered by action. She wrote goals in notebooks. She practiced affirmations in silence. She visualized success with clarity. Her mind became a training ground for resilience. Every setback refined her discipline. College felt distant and impossible. No one in her family had ever gone. Application forms looked intimidating. Fees felt unreachable. Yet she applied anyway. She searched for scholarships, grants, and support programs. Rejection letters arrived, some polite, others cold. Each rejection hurt, but did not stop her. She learned to refine her applications. She learned to ask for help. She learned persistence was a skill. Her mother watched quietly. She did not fully understand the process, but she understood effort. She supported Amara with prayers, encouragement, and trust. Their bond strengthened through shared sacrifice. One evening, Amara received a letter. It was not rejection. It was opportunity. A partial scholarship paired with a chance. Her hands trembled as she read it. Hope surged through her heart. The path was still uncertain, money was still tight, fear still lingered, but belief grew stronger. This was not luck. This was preparation meeting possibility. Amara realized something powerful. Breaking generational poverty was not a single moment. It was a series of choices, made daily, consistently, and bravely. Her journey was no longer just about escape. It was about building a bridge for herself, for her family, for generations waiting behind her. And she stepped forward without hesitation. College life introduced Amara to a world both inspiring and intimidating. Tall buildings, busy hallways, and confident faces surrounded her. Many students arrived supported by families with resources and guidance. Amara arrived carrying determination and uncertainty. She felt out of place, yet unwilling to retreat. Her days began before sunrise. She balanced classes with part-time work. Some nights she slept only a few hours. Fatigue became familiar, but purpose kept her moving. She reminded herself why she was there. Every lecture was a step forward. Financial pressure followed her constantly. Textbooks were expensive. Meals were simple. She often chose essentials over comfort. While others socialized, she worked. While others rested, she studied. Her sacrifice was quiet but powerful. There were moments when self-doubt returned. Imposter thoughts whispered that she did not belong, that she was not smart enough, that failure was inevitable. But Amara confronted these thoughts with preparation. She studied harder, asked questions, and sought mentors. One professor noticed her dedication. He saw potential beneath exhaustion. He encouraged her, challenged her, and guided her. For the first time, Amara felt truly seen. This support reinforced her belief in herself. She joined academic groups and workshops, learning skills beyond textbooks, financial literacy, leadership, and communication. She understood that education was more than grades. It was a tool for transformation. Back home, her family followed her progress with pride. Her siblings spoke of college as a possibility. Her mother smiled more often. Hope slowly replaced fear within their home. Amara felt the responsibility deepen. During holidays, she returned home. She saw the same struggles unchanged, but she was different now. Her perspective had expanded. She shared knowledge, advice, and encouragement. Her presence alone inspired change. Setbacks still appeared. Failed exams, rejected applications, unexpected expenses. Each obstacle tested her resilience, yet she adapted, learned, and advanced. She refused to let temporary difficulty derail permanent goals. Amara began to dream bigger, not just survival, but stability, not just success, but impact. She imagined owning a home, creating opportunities, and giving back. She understood wealth was more than money. It was freedom, choice, and security. Internships opened new doors. Professional environments taught her discipline. She learned how systems functioned, how decisions shaped lives. She realized change required both knowledge and courage. Late one night, while studying alone, she reflected on her journey. From candlelit nights to campus halls, from doubt to determination. She smiled, knowing progress was real. She was still far from the finish line, but she was no longer trapped by fear. Her vision grew clearer, her confidence stronger, her mission unshakable. Amara was not just chasing a degree, she was rewriting her family destiny, one choice at a time. Graduation approached, and with it, new pressure. The safety of campus life began to fade. Real-world responsibility waited beyond the gates. Amara felt both excitement and fear. She knew education alone was not enough. Application after application demanded patience. Job interviews tested her confidence. Some rooms felt cold and unwelcoming. She noticed how differently she was perceived. Questions carried hidden doubt. Expectations felt lower than her ability. Still, she spoke with clarity and strength. Rejections returned once again. Emails thanking her for applying but choosing others. Each message tested her resolve. But she reminded herself rejection was not identity. It was redirection. She invested time in building skills, public speaking, professional writing, strategic thinking. She volunteered and networked relentlessly. Her work ethic became her signature. People began to notice consistency. A small opportunity finally appeared. Not glamorous, not high-paying, but meaningful. She accepted without hesitation. She understood that progress often begins quietly. Work demanded discipline. Early mornings, long commutes, late evenings. She learned office dynamics, responsibility, and accountability. Mistakes happened, lessons followed. She improved quickly. Her income, though modest, changed everything. Bills were paid on time, food was stable, stress eased slightly at home. Her mother cried quietly in relief. These small victories mattered deeply. Amara began saving intentionally. She studied budgeting, investing, and credit. Financial literacy became her new classroom. She realized wealth required strategy, not luck. At work, she observed leadership carefully. She learned how decisions were made. She spoke up with ideas backed by preparation. Slowly, trust grew. Her confidence matured. Outside work, she mentored youth, sharing her story with honesty. She wanted others to see possibility. She wanted them to believe in effort. Her impact expanded beyond her household. Challenges did not disappear. Racism, bias, and exhaustion still surfaced, but she faced them with calm resilience. She no longer questioned her worth. She understood her value. Years passed and growth followed. Promotions increased responsibility and income. Her influence widened. She supported her siblings' education. She became a pillar for her family. One evening, she stood outside her new apartment, keys in hand. She remembered the nights of uncertainty. She smiled, knowing this was only the beginning. Amara had moved from survival to stability, from hope to action, from dream to direction. But her greatest work was still ahead. Stability gave Amara space to think beyond survival. For the first time, her mind was not consumed by emergencies. She could plan intentionally. She could dream responsibly. She understood that breaking generational poverty required more than income. It required structure, vision, and legacy. She began studying entrepreneurship and long-term investing. Late nights returned, but this time they were fueled by strategy. She read about business ownership, real estate, and financial independence. Knowledge once again became her strongest weapon. At work, she identified problems others ignored. She proposed solutions with confidence. Leadership began to rely on her insight. Her voice carried weight. Respect replaced doubt. With increased income came responsibility. She helped her mother move into a safer home. She ensured consistent health care and comfort. For the first time, her mother rested without fear. That moment strengthened Amara's resolve. Her siblings followed her example. College applications filled the household. Education became the new normal. The cycle was shifting visibly. Amara saved aggressively. She sacrificed short-term pleasure for long-term security. She built credit, eliminated debt, and invested carefully. Every decision aligned with her future vision. Eventually, she launched a small business. It started slowly. Long hours, little profit, constant learning. Mistakes were costly, but educational. She refused to quit. Balancing work and business tested her limits. Some days exhaustion returned, but purpose carried her forward. She remembered the promise she made long ago. Community support grew. Clients trusted her consistency. Her reputation spread. Income diversified. Security strengthened. She began speaking publicly, sharing her journey with honesty. Audiences listened because her story was real. She spoke of discipline, patience, and belief. She became a symbol of possibility. Opportunities expanded. Partnerships, mentorships, and recognition followed. She remained grounded, remembering her roots. Success did not change her character. It refined it. One night, she reviewed her finances quietly. Savings, investments, property, and business growth. She realized something powerful. Poverty no longer controlled her choices. She had not just escaped struggle, she had built protection against its return. Her family future was no longer fragile. It was fortified. Yet Amara knew true success was not personal. It was generational, and she prepared to secure it fully. With financial security strengthening, Amara's focus shifted toward permanence. She understood that wealth must outlive effort. Systems had to replace struggle. She began creating structures that would support her family long after her work slowed. She met with financial advisors and legal mentors, learning about trusts, ownership, and protection. These concepts once felt distant and elite. Now they became tools of empowerment. Amara purchased her first home, not just a place to live, but an asset. Keys in hand, she felt the weight of history shift. This was something no one before her had achieved. It was proof that cycles could be broken. Her mother moved in, surrounded by safety and dignity. Laughter-filled rooms once empty of hope. The home became a symbol of arrival. Amara funded education accounts for her siblings' children. She wanted opportunity to be guaranteed, not hoped for. Planning replaced uncertainty. Her business expanded into new markets. Employees joined her mission. She paid fair wages, offered mentorship, and created opportunity. She built what she once needed. Despite success, she faced criticism. Some questioned her ambition. Others misunderstood her discipline. But she remained steady. Her focus was long-term impact. She returned to her community regularly, hosting workshops and providing resources, teaching financial literacy and career development. She spoke in familiar spaces, so others could see themselves in her story. Amara became known as a leader, not because she demanded attention, but because she delivered results. Her family dynamics changed. Stress conversations were replaced with future planning. Fear was replaced with confidence. Poverty was no longer part of daily language. One evening, she sat with her mother, reflecting. They spoke of past hardships quietly. Tears flowed not from pain, but from release. Healing had begun. Amara realized her success had done more than change finances. It restored dignity, pride, and peace. The generational curse had weakened, but she intended to break it completely. The final steps required intention, patience, and faith. And she was ready. Time passed, and Amara's influence continued to grow. Her story reached people far beyond her neighborhood. Invitations came from schools, organizations, and community groups. She spoke not as a celebrity, but as a witness to transformation through discipline. Her message was simple but powerful. Poverty is not a permanent identity. It is a condition that can be challenged. She emphasized consistency, education, and courage. People listened because her life reflected her words. Her business matured into a stable enterprise. Leadership roles allowed her to step back strategically. Systems replaced constant labor. This was freedom in its truest form. She invested in real estate and community projects, revitalizing spaces that once symbolized neglect. Opportunity replaced abandonment. Hope replaced limitation. Her siblings graduated and built careers. They supported each other intentionally. The family operated as a unit. Knowledge was shared openly. Success multiplied collaboratively. Family gatherings changed in tone. Conversations centered on growth. Children spoke of careers, travel, and contribution. The language of scarcity disappeared. Amara noticed how generational trauma softened. Laughter became easier. Confidence grew naturally. Security altered behavior and belief. She mentored young women consistently, especially those who reminded her of herself. She offered guidance, resources, and accountability. She refused to let talent go unsupported. Despite accomplishments, she remained reflective. She remembered hunger, fatigue, and fear. These memories grounded her. They kept her mission authentic. One evening, she walked through her childhood neighborhood. The streets looked smaller, the fear less powerful. She realized she had outgrown limitation. She stood still and breathed deeply, grateful not just for success, but for endurance. She knew the end of her journey was not achievement. It was transformation. And the final chapter was about ensuring permanence. The cycle had cracked. Amara understood that legacy is measured by what continues without supervision. She focused on ensuring that what she built would stand independently. Her systems were clear, her values documented, and her vision shared. She established education funds, mentorship programs, and community partnerships, not as charity, but as investment. She believed dignity grows when opportunity is accessible. Her business leadership transitioned to trusted hands. She trained others to lead with integrity. This created stability beyond her presence. Within her family, traditions evolved. Financial meetings replaced emergency discussions. Children learned about saving, planning, and responsibility early. Confidence was taught intentionally. Her mother aged peacefully, surrounded by care and security. She often spoke of gratitude, not for wealth, but for relief. The relief of knowing her children and grandchildren were safe. One quiet evening, the family gathered together. Stories were shared of past hardship and present strength. There was no bitterness, only understanding. Pain had transformed into wisdom. Amara listened more than she spoke. She saw proof of change in every smile, in every confident voice, in every future plan spoken freely. She realized the greatest success was not visible, it was internal. Fear no longer guided decisions. Scarcity no longer defined identity. The cycle that once controlled generations had ended. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with preparation, discipline, and love. Amara walked outside alone under the open sky. She reflected on the promise she made long ago. She had kept it. Her children would inherit opportunity. Her family would inherit stability. Her community would inherit example. She was no longer running toward possibility. She had arrived and built permanence. Generational poverty did not end by chance. It ended by choice. And Amara Johnson became that choice. The story did not end with her. It began with those who came after.